Russian Roulette: The Inside Story of Putin's War on America and the Election of Donald Trump, by Michael Isikoff and David Korn, is a riveting exposé that uncovers the complex and unsettling relationship between Russia and the U.S. during the 2016 presidential election. The book offers a thorough investigation into how Russian interference, espionage, and covert tactics disrupted the American political process, leading to one of the most controversial elections in U.S. history. Let's dive into the core concepts of the book, breaking them down step by step, so you can gain a full understanding of the intricate dynamics at play and why they matter. Putin's geopolitical strategy: resentment toward the West. The roots of Russian interference in the U.S. election can be traced back to Vladimir Putin's resentment toward the West, particularly the U.S. and NATO. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Putin harbored a long-standing grudge against the U.S., perceiving NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe as a direct threat to Russian sovereignty. The West's influence in former Soviet territories stoked nationalist anger in Russia, fueling a desire to retaliate against what Putin saw as humiliation. The authors explain that Putin's vision was not merely about power, but about restoring Russia's standing as a global superpower. He viewed the U.S. as an obstacle that needed to be undermined in order to reclaim Russia's dominance on the world stage. This strategic hostility set the stage for the election interference. The weaponization of cyber espionage. One of the most shocking aspects of the Russian interference in 2016 was its reliance on cyber warfare. The book delves into how Russian intelligence agencies, particularly the GRU, Russia's military intelligence service, orchestrated hacking campaigns against key American institutions, such as the Democratic National Committee (DNC). Through sophisticated cyber attacks, Russia stole sensitive emails and documents from high-level Democratic officials, which were then leaked to the public through platforms like WikiLeaks. This cyber espionage wasn't a random occurrence. It was a calculated effort to damage Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and create chaos in the U.S. political system. The release of these documents, timed at critical moments during the election, was intended to sow discord among voters and fuel conspiracy theories. The authors emphasize how cyber attacks, once considered a futuristic form of warfare, became the central weapon in Russia's arsenal to manipulate public opinion. Russian propaganda and disinformation campaign. Beyond hacking, Russian interference extended to a massive propaganda and disinformation campaign. Isikoff and Korn explain how Russian operatives use social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to spread fake news, divisive content, and conspiracy theories aimed at deepening political divisions within the U.S. The Internet Research Agency (IRA), a Russian troll farm, played a pivotal role in creating thousands of fake accounts that posed as Americans. These accounts posted incendiary content, often focusing on polarizing issues such as race relations, immigration, and gun control. The objective was clear: to divide the American public, erode trust in democratic institutions, and create an environment ripe for political manipulation. By tapping into existing tensions within American society, Russia was able to exploit the vulnerability of social media algorithms that reward engagement without verifying the authenticity of the content. The flood of misinformation helped shape the narratives surrounding the election, confusing and misleading voters. Trump's campaign and Russian ties. A central theme of Russian Roulette is the murky relationship between Donald Trump's campaign and various Russian actors. Throughout the book, the authors meticulously document numerous instances where Trump's associates, such as Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, and Jared Kushner, had interactions with Russian officials, oligarchs, or intermediaries with ties to the Kremlin. Isikoff and Korn highlight how Trump himself had a long-standing interest in Russia, dating back to his attempts to build Trump Tower in Moscow. While Trump publicly denied any connections to Russia, behind the scenes, his campaign was entangled in suspicious dealings that raised questions about potential collusion. One key moment in the book is the infamous Trump Tower meeting, where senior members of Trump's campaign, including Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner, met with a Russian lawyer who promised damaging information on Hillary Clinton. Though the campaign later downplayed the significance of the meeting, It became a focal point in the investigation into whether the Trump campaign had colluded with Russia to influence the election outcome. The role of WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. The book also delves into the role played by WikiLeaks and its founder, Julian Assange, in disseminating the stolen emails from the DNC and Clinton campaign. While WikiLeaks portrayed itself as a neutral platform for transparency, the timing and selective release of these documents suggested coordination with Russian operatives. The authors explore how Assange, who had his own grievances against Hillary Clinton, appeared willing to align with Russian efforts to damage her campaign. The steady drip of damaging emails became a constant source of negative media attention for Clinton in the final months of the campaign. The book raises important questions about the ethics of platforms like WikiLeaks and the fine line between whistleblowing and complicity in foreign interference. The FBI's investigation, a house divided. Another crucial component of the narrative is the FBI's investigation into Russian interference, which began during the 2016 campaign. Isikoff and Korn provide an insider's look into how the FBI, led by Director James Comey, struggled to navigate the politically charged atmosphere while trying to uncover the truth. The book highlights how the FBI became a lightning rod for criticism from both political sides. Democrats were outraged that Comey publicly reopened the investigation into Clinton's private email server just days before the election, which many believe cost her the presidency. Meanwhile, Trump and his allies accused the FBI of being biased and conducting a witch hunt against his campaign. The internal divisions within the FBI, coupled with external political pressures, made it difficult for the Bureau to present a unified front. The book underscores how the polarization of the FBI's role in the election further eroded trust in American institutions. Why this matters: the threat to democracy. Perhaps the most critical takeaway from Russian Roulette is the broader implication of Russian interference, the vulnerability of modern democracies in the digital age. The authors argue that the 2016 election was a wake-up call for the U.S., demonstrating how foreign adversaries can exploit open societies to undermine democratic processes. The book urges readers to recognize that while the interference may have succeeded in the 2016 election, the threat remains ongoing. The vulnerabilities exposed by Russia's tactics, cyber attacks, disinformation, and manipulation of social media are not unique to the U.S. These are tools that can, and will, be used again, in various forms, against democracies around the world. The Mueller investigation. Finally, Isikoff and Korn touch on Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, which became a critical point of focus after the 2016 election. While the investigation found insufficient evidence to prove criminal conspiracy between Trump's campaign and Russia, it did reveal a web of deceit, obfuscation, and unethical behavior. The book suggests that even if Trump's campaign didn't actively conspire with Russia, they were more than willing to benefit from the fruits of Russian interference. The investigation raised important questions about accountability, the limits of legal responsibility, and the ethical obligations of political campaigns in the face of foreign intervention. In Russian Roulette, Isikoff and Korn weave a narrative that is both deeply troubling and highly informative. The book lays bare the complexity of the Russian influence campaign, illustrating how a combination of cyber attacks, disinformation, and political opportunism can destabilize even the most powerful democracies. The 2016 election serves as a case study in how modern warfare has shifted from the battlefield to the digital realm. The core message of the book is a sobering one: democracies are more fragile than we may think. In the age of cyber warfare and social media manipulation, the institutions we rely on for fairness and transparency are vulnerable to exploitation. The key to addressing these challenges lies in understanding the tactics used and developing robust defenses to protect the integrity of democratic processes.